Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation No Time to Die, turn 9.4, the Commonwealth. It is July 1940. I want to mention this coastal sub in C-Zone 115. On my 8.4 turn, I called it Das Boot, from the 1981 film of the same title, also from a book based on that book of that title. Admiral Seabass referred to this submarine as U-96. Das Boot was based on U-96. U-96 completed 11 missions, sinking 27 ships and destroying 223,000 tons of goods. Note that U-96 was not destroyed at sea, so that's might be why I'm having such a difficult time trying to sink it. Alright, I want to also review a little part here from Boston Bruce's turn. He ended up putting his aircraft carrier, his light aircraft carrier with a fighter there in C-Zone 89. I think that's 89. Yeah, C-Zone 89. And I think this is so fascinating how Madman Dan is improving all of our games. He used everything involving the defense of England is 100% Madman Dan. And Boston Bruce saw Madman Dan using this fighter in a sea zone to prevent aircraft from moving through a sea zone to protect Formosa. So Madman Dan's cleverness is being used against him. I even though it's against my ally, still find that delicious and ironic. I tip my hat to Boston Bruce for that move. Made me laugh. Okay, now let's turn to turn 9.4 and conduct the turn of the close friend of the Japanese people, the British Commonwealth. So we'll start off with 2 tech rolls. I'll do that on PBE. The first one will be for advanced ASW, and the second one will be for wartime economy. Let's see if I could get my first tech. I think I'm the last major power to get a tech. Okay, and I did get advanced ASW. I still did not advance for wartime economy. I've rolled 9 times for wartime economy, and I've only succeeded once. Okay, so British purchases. Let's swivel this around here so that we can take a peek at the purchases and maybe zoom in a bit. Okay. So for Britain, I'm going to get 3 infantry for 9, 2 marines for 8, that brings us up to 17, a fighter for 10, 27, and then a KMT Lend-Leased Mountain Infantry for 4, that spends all 31. FEC is going to purchase an artillery for 4, 4 militia for 8, that brings us up to 12, and then complete construction of the fortification in Calcutta for 5, that's 17. That's all I had to spend. Then ANZAC has 10. They're going to build 2 Colonial infantry and 1 militia, and that's 10. They save nothing as well. Okay, combat movement. So I'm going to conduct a strategic bombing mission with this strategic bomber in London. It's going to fly 1, 2, 3 down to Aquitaine, and it will just bomb a rail. Now, rail in the clear, it has a maximum of 1 damage point, so no matter what I roll, it will damage it, and it would take 1 IPP if Panzer J wants to repair it. 1, 2, 3. Not sure what plans Madman might be having for that particular rail line. I can't imagine. But I'm following my much wiser allies' master plan. Okay, and then another combat is it is time to sink Das Boot. Let's see if we can make that happen. Boy, it is really hard to get that on screen. Oh yeah, I have to zoom back out. So sorry, team. Okay, there we go. Got it now. Okay, so I am going to fly from this... Wait, it's this one. This tactical bomber is going to fly off this carrier in 114 down to C-Zone 115. Is that on camera? Yep, and that's the only thing. It's attacking Das Boot. I'm going to use PBE for this one too. It's just going to be so key if I can sink that thing. I need a 7. Let's see what I get. Well, it's thinking a very long time. And I rolled a 2. So, that was a noble coastal sub. The coastal sub sank 9 IPP total. That's got to be a record for a coastal sub. Fantastic work. And considering that he didn't even have to pay anything for it, he said he got his money's worth. Indeed he did. Great, so that is the end of combat. Now we're going on to non-combat. Okay. 1 infantry in Burma. I think we need to maybe go over here just a scooch. So 1 infantry in Burma will move to Bengal. 1 infantry in the Belgian Congo. That is not on camera, is it? I think we got it down here. 1 infantry here in the Belgian Congo moves up to Sudan. 1 ANZAC transport in 116. It's just really hard to get that on camera, but it's right to the southwest of South African Union. It's going to move 1 over to where Das Boot was. The ANZAC transport is now in C-Zone 115. Okay, 1 destroyer will move from C-Zone 114. Let's see. Here we go, there we go. Okay, 1 destroyer in C-Zone 114 is going to move to C-Zone 109 and go on escort duty. So this guy is an escort. Let's go this way. We'll go sideways if they're escorts. Make them stand out a little bit. All right. And then 1 destroyer moves from C-Zone 79, this guy right here, will go down to C-Zone 108 right here and go on escort duty. One destroyer will move from C-Zone 114, that's this guy here, and will go to C-Zone 115 and go on escort duty. This thought I had a. Oh, this guy I don't want it to be the ANZAC guy. I want it to be a British destroyer coming from 114. This ANZAC I want to be in 114 on escort duty. So okay, now why do I care? Why does it matter which one is on escort duty? Because if he does decide to attack, I would rather have the ANZAC destroyer killed. So if you ever have a choice as the British player to lose an equivalent ANZAC unit, like a light cruiser, an ANZAC light cruiser, or a British light cruiser, well, first of all, it doesn't matter. This about FEC versus a British coloring. It's a waste of your time. If you're a new player, do not have FEC be a separate color. Number 1, for storage. You just store all your pieces together. Number 2, to save you money, you shouldn't buy a whole new FEC set because they are indistinguishable. FEC is part of Great Britain, and if FEC loses Calcutta here, they do not surrender. If they lose Calcutta, they continue to fight on. However, ANZAC does need to have separate forces. If Sydney falls, then you have to remove all ANZAC pieces from the board. And so that's why it's important to have different colored pieces in a whole entire set for ANZAC, but don't do that for FEC, if you ask me. I know if it's fine. If you enjoy the different coloration of FEC, I get that, because like, look, here's my different coloration of Soviet pieces. I totally understand that, and you can do that for fun. But from a gameplay standpoint, it doesn't matter between FEC and the Commonwealth. So coming back to this issue about if you have a choice of losing a losing a Commonwealth or losing an ANZAC equivalent piece, always take the ANZAC piece because ANZAC is much easier to surrender. It's real difficult to make Britain surrender. I forget all the different various places. You gotta lose everything. You gotta lose Suez and London and Ottawa and South African Union and maybe Calcutta. I mean, it would be an absolute blowout game if you could get Britain to surrender, but it's super easy to make ANZAC surrender. So if Sydney falls and you do lose ANZAC, you'd want to have those pieces destroyed. So sorry to go off on a tangent, but I hope that helped some people. Okay, now we're going back here to Sea Zone 114. I've got my carrier and a torpedo boat destroyer here on this little card. They're going to move down here, and this tactical bomber is going to land on my carrier. This carrier and this piece are both done by Axis and Allies board gaming. Oh gosh, do they do a beautiful job. Okay, one destroyer. Let's see. Am I out of destroyers? I think I'm out. Yeah, okay. One tactical bomber moves from Sea Zone 79 right here. There's a tactical bomber on a light carrier, and it's going to fly to Mauritania and land there on the land. It's not on map. It's on the land right now. One torpedo boat destroyer moves from Sea Zone 79 to 105 and goes on escort duty. So we got that there. Okay, and two heavy cruisers and one submarine move from Sea Zone 79. Let's swivel that around. Going to move from Sea Zone 79 here up to Sea Zone 24 with the home fleet. They're gonna join this card here. I don't know if my opponents can see that. All right, and then one light carrier, two battleships, one battle cruiser. Let's see, it's all on this card right here. So maybe I can zoom in a bit. I have to go out a little bit. Okay. One light carrier, two battleships, one battle cruiser, one British light cruiser, one ANZAC light cruiser, and one destroyer, as well as this naval transport. All of that moves 1, 2, 3 to Sea Zone 24. Can only go 3 because it has the battleships, and Gibraltar did give it a +1. So the battleships get bumped from movement of 2 up to movement of 3. One naval transport here in Sea Zone 79 picks up these two infantry in Gibraltar and drops them off in Morocco. One destroyer and one torpedo boat destroyer move from Sea Zone 24 to Sea Zone 25. So these guys were in the home fleet. They go over and join this smaller fleet. Two infantry move from London to the British Midlands. And then two infantry are going to move from the British Midlands up to northern England. One anti-aircraft artillery is going to move from northern England down to the British Midlands. One fighter in Sea Zone 25 will take off the carrier and fly on to map in Sea Zone 13. Another fighter will fly from British Midlands onto that carrier. So the net effect is this fighter goes here. A third fighter is going to fly from British Midlands to the light carrier that just moved up from Sea Zone 79. That's in Sea Zone 24. So I have a fighter in Sea Zone 24 a fighter in C Zone 25, and a fighter in C Zone 13. Now look at the brilliance of Madman Dan. Let me see if all of this is, hopefully this is all on camera. I don't think 13 was. So let's go up here a little bit higher. Okay, so look at the brilliance of Madman Dan. You've got this fighter, there's a fighter in this C Zone, a fighter in this C Zone, and a fighter in this C Zone. So Panzer J, he cannot get this aerial force up. Sure, what he can do is every turn he can come out and kill a fighter, but I will not let him get to me in combat movement. So hopefully this will dissuade him, but who knows? He's a very persistent foe. We'll see what happens, but I don't want anyone to give me credit. This is not my genius. This is Madman Dan, and I'm learning a lot from him. I'm so grateful to have him as my ally. I tell him that about once a day. He has a great depth to his knowledge of this game. Okay, one strategic rail of an anti-aircraft artillery from Union of South Africa up to Belgian Congo. That's as far as that will twist. Anyway, the anti-aircraft that I built last turn in South African Union is railed to Belgian Congo. Strategic naval movement. One transport that's in C Zone 25 will pick up 2 Marines and strategic naval move down to Gibraltar. So it'll end in C Zone 79. So I've got 1 transport in 24, 1 transport in 25, and 2 transports in 79. Whoops, I brought the wrong unit down. The airborne stays here. So in London right now, all I have is my strategic bomber and my airborne. In Gibraltar, I've got 3 militia and 2 Marines. Okay. Now we go to placement of units. In London, I'm going to place 2 infantry, 2 Marines, and a fighter. So those are the 5 units I'm placing. 2 infantry, 2 Marines, and a fighter. And then in northern England, I'm going to place the last infantry. So I've got 3 infantry in northern England right now. Okay, FEC placements. I can place 3 militia in Calcutta. That's the max I can do, so that's definitely what I'm going to do. Put 3 militia in there. So that gets me up to 9 militia. And I'm going to place another artillery there. So that gets me up to 2 British artillery and 1 ANZAC artillery. And then I'm going to complete construction in Calcutta of the fortification. And then my last militia, because I built 4 militia, will go in British Malaya. So I think I have 5 militia there versus the 4 in Hong Kong. Both of those places have 2 infantry. Okay, Great Britain collects 27 plus 3 for holding the Suez, so 30, they end the turn with 30 IPP. FEC collects 14 plus 2 for Aden in Eastern Egypt, that's 16 IPP. And ANZAC collects 7 IPP. Let us now begin turn 9.5, Free France. So, Free France will purchase, I guess I should come over here, zoom in a little bit so you can see my purchases. I'm going to purchase 1 militia upgrade for 2, another militia also for 2, and then an infantry for 3, so that's a total of 7, which is all I have with Free France. Combat movement. 1 infantry is going to move from, let's see if we can get this. Nope, we gotta zoom out again. There we go. Okay, so this infantry in Chad is going to move to Ubangi Chari. It's not worth anything. This cavalry is going to move from Cameroon 1-2 to Niger. Again, not worth anything. One submarine is going to move from Sea Zone 25 to convoy raid the German line from Sweden here in Sea Zone 14. So that's my only combat. I'll go over here to the rolling and see. You can tell the things that aren't that important I'll just roll dice for, but for the key things like killing Das Boot, we gotta have that on PPE. Alrighty. Red die is always the attacker for me, and white die is the defender on the convoy line. I have a +2. Okay, so it's 4 minus 1 is 3. That's the maximum damage that I could do to Germany on that convoy line for this year. So that will drop Germany from 51 down to 48. Oh, I'm sorry, 61 down to 58. I was in denial there about how much money he had. Ay caramba. Okay, non-combat movement. Let's pull this camera back a bit. Zoom out. Okay, so we've got this infantry down in Abyssinia. It will move to Nubia. The infantry in Nubia will move to eastern Egypt. One mountain infantry in Morocco will move over to northern Algeria. So now I have 2 mountain in northern Algeria. Strategic rail movement, none. Strategic naval movement, none. Placement of French units. 1 militia in Abyssinia will upgrade to a infantry. And 1 militia will go into northern Algeria, and an infantry will go into northern Algeria. So in northern Algeria, I have 1 airborne, I have 2 infantry, 1 militia, 2 mountain, and 1 fighter. Free France collects 7 IPP. You know what? I messed up on my placement. I forgot to place my ANZAC units. I hope that that's not an issue for anyone. The Colonial infantry is being built, and the militia are all being built in New Zealand. So New Zealand is going to have 2 infantry and 1 militia in beautiful country of New Zealand. Okay, this is Global War 36 Enthusiast, now turning it over to Panzer J and 9.6 Italy.